The Galactic Diplomatic Corps has very specific standards. Very specific standards. Trust me, I should know. I have been rejected by them 4 times already. 4 times. Can you believe that? I, Zorban Quill, top of my class at the Diplomatic Academy of Nexus Prime, rejected like some common space trash. Your temperament is unsuitable for high-stress negotiations, they said. Hey, what do they know about stress? Try being a 4th-generation diplomat whose family expects nothing less than excellence. Now that's stress. But I digress. Where was I? Oh yes, the Corps and their impossibly high standards. So when Supreme Commander Pelix announced that the Corps was scouting a newly discovered species called humans for potential recruitment, I nearly spat out my morning Zephyr juice. Humans. Those soft, squishy creatures from that watery planet in the backwaters of the Milky Way. The same species that still gets excited about finding shiny rocks in their own soil. Those humans? Zorban, said my colleague Nextrapax, her 3 eyes blinking in that annoying sequential pattern she does when she's amused. Your face appendages are turning purple again. They are called cheek frills, and they are a sign of distinguished breeding, I snapped, trying to calm the vibrating cartilage on either side of my face. And they are not purple. They are mauve. There's a difference. Nextra shrugged all 4 of her shoulders simultaneously. If you say so. But you might want to know that Commander Pelix has assigned you to the Earth observation team. I froze. What? Why me? Because, she said, leaning in conspiratorially, word is that humans might be the solution to the Vargax situation. Now that got my attention. The Vargax Confederation had been threatening war with the United Galactic Alliance for decades. Huge, hulking brutes with exoskeletons that could withstand small arms fire, they were known across the galaxy for their absolute refusal to compromise on anything. Negotiating with them was like trying to convince a black hole to give back light. Pointless, dangerous, and likely to end with you being stretched into atomic spaghetti. What could humans possibly offer that our best negotiators couldn't? I asked, genuinely puzzled. Nextra's mouth tentacles curled into what passed for a smile on her species. That's what you are being sent to find out. 3 solar cycles later, I found myself orbiting Earth in a cloaked observation vessel with a team of 5 other diplomats. Our mission: identify the humans' most skilled negotiators and assess their potential for handling the Vargax. Initial scans indicate humans have multiple categories of negotiators, reported Drake Loon, our data analyst. A lanky Meridian with skin that changed color with his emotions, currently a thoughtful blue. Drake had been compiling information on human social structures for days. Such as? Asked Captain Vix Talon. Our mission leader, her species evolved from avian predators, and she had a way of staring that made you feel like prey. They have formal titles like diplomats, mediators, and hostage negotiators, Drake continued. But our algorithm has identified another group that demonstrates extraordinary negotiation skills not reflected in formal titles. Well, don't keep us in suspense, I said, my cheek frills fluttering with impatience. Drake's skin flushed yellow with excitement. They are called kindergarten teachers. The room fell silent. What's a kindergarten? Asked Quippo Zan, our cultural specialist. Quippo belonged to a species of sentient fungi and communicated through spore puffs that our universal translators converted to speech. It appears to be a training facility for their youngest offspring, Drake answered. Ages approximately 5 to 6 Earth years. Captain Talon's feathered brow furrowed. And these teachers? They are warriors? Not exactly, said Drake, his skin shifting to an uncertain purple. They appear to be caretakers and educators. I laughed. Loudly. Too loudly, judging by the annoyed glance Captain Talon shot my way. So, I said, trying to rein in my amusement, you are telling me that the humans' secret weapon against the Vargax might be babysitters? I didn't say that, Drake protested, his skin now an embarrassed pink. I said the algorithm identified exceptional negotiation patterns in their behavior. Show us, ordered Captain Talon. Drake activated the holo display. This is footage from a human kindergarten classroom. We watched as a small female human with curly red hair and something called glasses dealt with a room full of tiny humans. One small human was clutching a colorful block and screaming, while another was trying to take it away. Mine. I had it first, screeched one child. But I need the blue one from my tower, wailed the other. The teacher approached them calmly. Jake, Ellie, what seems to be the problem? Both tiny humans started talking at once, their voices rising to pitches that made my auditory receptors throb. The teacher held up her hand. One at a time, please, using our indoor voices. Miraculously, both children quieted. Jake, you had the block first? The boy nodded emphatically. And Ellie, you need a blue block for your tower? The girl sniffled and nodded. I see. Jake, how many blue blocks are in your collection right now? 4, the boy mumbled. And how many are you using in your structure? The boy looked at his creation. 3. So you have 1 extra blue block? A reluctant nod. Ellie, how many blue blocks do you need for your tower? Just 1, the girl said quietly. Jake, Iliki. The teacher said, kneeling to his level, I can see that you found these blocks first. And that's important. But part of being in kindergarten is learning to share and solve problems together. Could you consider letting Ellie borrow just 1 blue block that you are not using? You'd still have 3 for your amazing spaceship. The boy thought about it, then grudgingly handed over 1 blue block. The girl immediately stopped crying and beamed. What do we say, Ellie? Prompted the teacher. Thank you, Jake. 8. You are welcome, Jake said, looking pleased despite himself. Wonderful problem solving, you two. The teacher smiled. Jake, that was very generous. Ellie, thank you for waiting patiently. Now, 5 more minutes of building time before cleanup. The holo display froze. That's it? I said incredulously. That's their exceptional negotiation skill? Getting 2 tiny humans to share a block? The analysis runs deeper, Drake said defensively. Watch this compilation. For the next hour, we observed dozens of these teachers in action. We saw them convince a room of 25 excited children to form an orderly line in under 30 seconds. Successfully negotiate with a child who had barricaded himself in a play structure and refused to come out for lunch. Mediate a complex dispute involving 6 children, 3 toy dinosaurs, and a disagreement about the rules of an improvised game. Persuade a stubborn child to eat vegetables through an elaborate system of positive reinforcement. Use a potential riot when a scheduled playground activity was canceled due to rain. Most impressively, Drake concluded, they achieve compliance without force, threats, or even raising their voices. And they maintain their composure through conditions that would break most diplomatic professionals. Interesting, Captain Talon murmured. But can these skills translate to interspecies diplomacy? There's only one way to find out, said Craxy Spolt, our security specialist who had been silent until now. Built like a mountain with metallic skin, Craxus rarely spoke unless it was important. We need to test one. Test one? I repeated. You mean abduct a human? Craxus fixed me with his glowing red eyes. Not abduct. Invite. And that's how, against all protocols and probably several galactic laws, we ended up inviting a kindergarten teacher named Melody Parks to our ship. You are aliens? Melody Parks said, staring at us with remarkably little fear for someone who'd just been transported from her apartment to a spaceship. Yes, said Captain Talon, her translator converting her natural screech into smooth human English. We apologize for the abrupt introduction, but we have a situation that requires your expertise. Melody blinked several times, adjusting her glasses. She was small for a human, with short brown hair and what humans would consider an average appearance. Nothing about her suggested she might be one of the most valuable diplomatic assets in the galaxy. This is either the most elaborate prank ever, or I have finally cracked from cutting too many paper snowflakes, she said, then took a deep breath. Okay. Assuming this is real, what kind of situation needs a kindergarten teacher's expertise? A diplomatic crisis that could result in interstellar war, Captain Talon replied matter-of-factly. Melody laughed, then stopped when none of us joined in. Wait, you are serious? I teach 5-year-olds how to share crayons and not eat paste. How could that possibly help with interstellar war? That's precisely what makes you valuable, Drake explained, his skin a confident green. Your methods of conflict resolution are unique. I'm going to need more explanation than that, Melody said, crossing her arms. I stepped forward. Perhaps a demonstration would help. We have arranged a simulated negotiation scenario. We led her to our conference room, where we'd set up a mock diplomatic situation. 2 holograms represented delegates from warring factions, programmed to be as difficult and unreasonable as possible. These are simulations of delegates from the Vargax Confederation and the Pleiadian Republic, I explained. They have been at war for 3 decades over mining rights to an asteroid belt. Every attempted negotiation has failed. We'd like you to try. Me? I don't know the first thing about asteroid mining or interstellar politics, Melody protested. Just approach it as you would a classroom conflict, Captain Talon suggested. Melody shook her head in disbelief but turned to face the holograms. All right, let's start by introducing ourselves and establishing some ground rules for our discussion. The Vargax hologram immediately began shouting about historical grievances, while the Pleiadian hologram interrupted with accusations of its own. The volume increased until they were practically screaming over each other. I expected Melody to retreat in confusion or ask for help. Instead, she did something astonishing. She started singing. If you are happy and you know it, clap your hands. She sang loudly, clapping twice. The holograms fell silent in confusion. Thank you, Melody said pleasantly. Now, in my classroom, we have 3 important rules. 1, we use our listening ears when others are talking. 2, we use our indoor voices. And 3, we take turns. Does that sound fair? And the holograms, programmed to respond to direct questions, reluctantly agreed. Wonderful. Now, let's try again. Mr. Vargax, you will have 2 minutes to explain your position. Mr. Pleiadian, you will listen without interrupting, and then you will get your turn. I will be the timekeeper. Ready? What followed was the most effective peace negotiation I'd ever witnessed. Using techniques clearly developed for managing rowdy 5-year-olds, Melody had each side express their feelings using I statements, identified common interests beneath their positions, created a visual aid showing shared benefits of cooperation. Negotiators implemented a compliment sandwich technique for delivering criticism, used stickers as rewards for constructive contributions. Within 1 hour, the holograms had reached a tentative agreement that had eluded real diplomats for decades. The room was silent as the simulation ended. Well? Melody asked. How did I do? Impossible, I whispered, my cheek frills fully extended in shock. That was impossible. Actually, Drake said, checking his data pad, the simulation was running at 120% normal diplomatic difficulty. She exceeded our highest performance metrics. Captain Talon turned to Melody with newfound respect. Ms. Parks, would you be willing to help us with a real diplomatic mission? The fate of billions may depend on it. Melody considered this. I'd need a substitute teacher for my class. And I have a field trip to the zoo next week that I can't miss. We can arrange that, Captain Talon assured her. Well then, Melody said with a smile that suddenly seemed much more intimidating than before, I guess I'm available for parent-teacher conferences with your Vargax friends. As we prepared to brief her on the actual mission, I couldn't help but wonder, if this was what one human kindergarten teacher could do, what would happen if we recruited more? The galaxy wasn't ready. But the Vargax were about to get schooled. Little did we know that Melody Parks was just the beginning of our education about humanity's most terrifying negotiators, and that the real test was yet to come. 3 days later, our ship was approaching the neutral zone space station where the Vargax negotiations would take place. Melody had spent the entire time studying galactic politics, Vargax culture, and the history of the conflict. Her capacity to absorb information was, frankly, terrifying. So, she said, looking up from her data pad during our final briefing, the Vargax want exclusive rights to the Zoltan asteroid belt, which would cut off the Alliance's supply of plurinium. And they have threatened to pulverize 3 inhabited moons if they don't get what they want. Correct, Captain Talon confirmed. And your best negotiators have failed because… Drake's skin pulsed an uncomfortable orange. The Vargax chief negotiator, War General Kragath, has a habit of eating diplomats who displease him. Melody blinked rapidly. Eating them? Only the lower extremities, I assured her quickly. Most survive. With therapy and prosthetics, they lead almost normal lives. Almost normal, Melody repeated faintly. Good to know. Despite this revelation, she didn't request to return to Earth, which either made her incredibly brave or dangerously unstable. I was betting on the latter. What makes you think the Vargax will listen to me when they have literally eaten professional negotiators? She asked. B. We have analyzed their psychology, Drake explained. The Vargax evolved from pack predators with complex social hierarchies. They respect authority established through dominance. But I'm not dominant, Melody protested. I'm 5'3" in heels. Kraxus finally spoke up. Physical size is irrelevant. You demonstrate alpha status through behavioral control. You command rooms full of unpredictable, emotional subjects who respond instantly to your authority signals. You mean kindergartners? Precisely, nodded Captain Talon. For the Vargax, this registers as dominance. Melody laughed nervously. This is insane. I use stickers and timeouts, not threats of violence. That's what makes you perfect, I said, my cheek frills vibrating with excitement. The Vargax won't understand your methods. It will confuse them, disrupt their usual patterns, and hopefully, added Captain Talon, keep them from eating your legs. Very reassuring, Melody muttered. The neutral zone space station resembled a giant metallic snowflake, its 6 arms extending from a central hub. As our shuttle docked, I noticed Melody taking deep, calming breaths. Nervous? I asked. I once had a 5-year-old projectile vomit on me during parents' night while I was wearing a new dress, she replied. Nothing scares me anymore. But when the Vargax delegation entered the conference room, even Melody's composure wavered. They were massive, easily 8 feet tall, with chitinous exoskeletons the color of dried blood and multiple compound eyes that gleamed like polished obsidian. Their mandibles clicked ominously as they surveyed us. War General Kragath, distinguished by elaborate gold markings on his carapace, stomped forward. Where is the Alliance negotiator? He bellowed, his translator barely softening the volume. And Captain Talon gestured toward Melody. May I present Negotiator Supreme Parks of Earth? Kragath's compound eyes focused on Melody, who looked particularly small and soft next to the armored behemoths. This is an insult, he roared. You send a tiny female? I will devour her limbs as an appetizer. I expected Melody to flinch or retreat. Instead, she did something completely unexpected. She smiled brightly. Good morning, War General Kragath. I'm so happy to meet you. Her voice was warm, cheerful, and loud enough to carry without shouting. Before we begin, I'd like to go over our agenda and some ground rules for today's discussion. The Vargax delegation exchanged confused glances. This wasn't the terrified reaction they were accustomed to. There are no rules but Vargax rules, Kragath thundered, slamming a clawed fist on the table hard enough to crack it. Melody's smile never faltered. I understand you are feeling frustrated, and that's okay. Feelings are important. But in this space, we use our indoor voices and gentle hands with furniture. Kragath's mandibles clacked in confusion. What is happening? Is this a trick? No trick, Just good communication practices, Melody continued pleasantly. She pulled a colorful chart from her bag and attached it to the wall. This is our behavior board. We all start on Ready to Learn. She pointed to a green section, but if we have trouble following our rules, we might move to think about it or even take a break. The Vargax warriors stared at the childish chart with its cartoon faces showing different emotions. Are you threatening us? Kragath asked, his voice noticeably lower in volume. Not at all. I'm setting expectations. Now, shall we begin with some sharing time? I'd love to hear what the Zoltan Belt means to you and your people. Before Kragath could respond, the conference room doors burst open. A dozen more Vargax warriors poured in, followed by Pelix, the Alliance Supreme Commander. What is the meaning of this? Demanded Pelix, a stately Arcturian with luminescent skin. The agreement was for equal representation. Plans change, growled Kragath. Just like the terms of our negotiation. We now demand the entire Zenith Quadrant in addition to the Zoltan Belt. The Alliance delegation erupted in outrage. The Vargax warriors began clicking their mandibles menacingly, a prelude to attack. The situation was deteriorating rapidly. Suddenly, a piercing whistle cut through the chaos. All eyes turned to Melody, who had her fingers in her mouth. I'm very disappointed in this behavior, she said in a tone that somehow conveyed both sadness and warning. War General Kragath, changing plans without telling friends isn't kind or fair. You have moved your clip to think about it. She walked calmly to her chart and moved a clip with Kragath's name from green to yellow. The room fell utterly silent. The Vargax delegation seemed paralyzed by confusion. Supreme Commander Pelix, Melody continued, shouting doesn't solve problems. Your clip is also on Think About It. She moved a second clip. This is absurd, Pelix sputtered. I am the Supreme Commander of the... I understand titles are important to you, Melody interrupted kindly but firmly. And we will have time to talk about that during Sharing Circle. But right now we need to use our listening ears and our kind words. Something extraordinary happened. Both the Alliance and Vargax delegations quieted down and took their seats. The atmosphere in the room had changed completely. Thank you, Melody said warmly. Now let's try again. War General Kragath, what is it about the Zoltan Belt that's important to your people? For a moment I thought Kragath might explode with rage or literally eat Melody on the spot. Instead, he seemed to undergo an internal struggle before answering in a voice that, while still loud, no longer rattled the fixtures. The belt contains resources vital to Vargax expansion. Our population grows. We need space, minerals. Thank you for sharing, Melody nodded. And Supreme Commander Pelix, what does the Alliance need from the belt? Plurinium is essential for our energy grid, Pelix replied stiffly. Without it, billions would lose power to their homes and life support systems. I see. So both sides have very important needs, Melody summarized. War General, did you know about the Alliance's energy needs? Kragath's mandibles clicked dismissively. And not our concern. Actually, it is, Melody countered gently. In kindergarten, we learned that our actions affect others. If you take all the blocks, other friends can't build. If you take all the plurinium, Alliance friends can't have electricity for their hospitals and homes. Vargax not friends with Alliance. Kragath bellowed, then immediately looked at the behavior chart and lowered his voice. Alliance is enemy. Melody tapped her chin thoughtfully. War General, may I ask how old the Vargax Confederation is? The question caught him off guard. 3,000 solar cycles. And the Alliance? 5,000, Pelix answered. So you are both very established spacefaring civilizations, Melody nodded. Yet you are acting like my students Patty and Oliver fighting over who gets to be line leader. She pulled out a large visual aid showing the asteroid belt. Let's try something different. Instead of thinking about what you are fighting over, let's think about what you can create together. For the next 3 hours, Using techniques clearly designed for stubborn 5-year-olds, Melody led the two delegations through a series of exercises. A feelings check in where each side expressed their concerns using a talking stick. Nobody could interrupt the person holding the stick. A problem-solving worksheet where they listed possible solutions. A cooperation corner where small mixed groups tackled specific aspects of the dispute. A friendship bracelet activity, yes, really, where members of opposing delegations had to work together to create symbolic tokens of cooperation. Most bizarrely, it was working. The Vargax, creatures known throughout the galaxy for their intransigence and appetite for diplomat legs, were participating, grudgingly at first, then with increasing engagement. "I have a proposal," Melody announced finally. "The Zoltan Belt will be divided into 3 zones. Zone 1, exclusive Vargax mining. Zone 2, exclusive Alliance mining. Zone 3, a joint operation with shared technology and profits." Shockingly, both sides seemed to consider this reasonable. "But what guarantees Alliance compliance?" It demanded Kragath suspiciously. "An excellent question that shows good thinking," Melody praised, and I swear Kragath's carapace flushed with pride. "That's why I have created the accountability chart." She unveiled another brightly colored poster board, this one with stickers and checkboxes. Each side will earn stars for meeting their obligations. 10 stars earns a bonus of expanded mining rights the following quarter. But, her voice took on a warning tone. Breaking agreements means losing stars and privileges. "This is unprecedented," murmured Pelix. "But effective," Kraxus observed quietly beside me. Just as it seemed we might achieve the impossible, the conference room doors slammed open again. A towering Vargax, even larger than Kragath, stormed in. "Supreme Warlord Drakthor," gasped the Vargax delegation, dropping to one knee. "What weakness is this?" roared the newcomer, surveying the cooperation activity with disgust. "Vargax do not negotiate. Vargax conquer." Drakthor's arrival changed the energy instantly. The Vargax warriors began to posture aggressively again. Kragath, clearly intimidated by his superior, stepped back from the table. "I will handle this," Captain Talon whispered urgently to Melody. "He's too dangerous." But Melody was already walking toward the Supreme Warlord, datapad in hand. "You must be War General Kragath's supervisor," she said pleasantly. "I'm so glad you could join us. We were just reviewing everyone's progress." "Progress toward surrender?" sneered Drakthor. "Actually, progress toward becoming galactic problem solvers," Melody corrected. She held up her datapad. "Would you like to see War General Kragath's star chart? He's shown exceptional leadership today." Drakthor stared at the cartoon star chart in baffled rage. "What is this infantile nonsense?" "It's positive reinforcement, a cornerstone of behavioral management," Melody explained. "I use it with my kindergarten class back on Earth." The Supreme Warlord's compound eyes swiveled toward Kragath. "You allowed a kindergarten teacher to dictate terms to the Vargax Confederation?" The room went deathly silent. I held my breath, certain we were about to witness a bloodbath. "Supreme Warlord," Melody said calmly, "in my classroom we don't use put-downs or hurtful words with our friends. That's a red light behavior." "Red light behavior?" Drakthor repeated, mandibles twitching in confusion. "Yes, and interrupting others' work is also a red light behavior. War General Kragath and Commander Pelix were doing excellent cooperation, and you have disrupted that with your entrance." The audacity of this small human lecturing the most feared warlord in the galaxy left everyone speechless. I was calculating the fastest escape route when Melody delivered her masterstroke. However, she continued brightly, "You have arrived just in time for our conflict resolution role-play activity. You can partner with Supreme Commander Pelix." Before Drakthor could object, Melody had somehow maneuvered him to a table across from a stunned Pelix, with puppets in front of them. "These are our problem-solving puppets, Friendly Frog and Wise Owl. You will use them to practice respectful communication about your feelings regarding the asteroid belt." The sight of the supreme warlord of the Vargax Confederation holding a plush frog puppet was so surreal that I had to bite my tongue to keep from laughing hysterically. "This is ridiculous," Drakthor growled, though noticeably without his earlier volume. "I am a conqueror of worlds, not a puppet-wielding infant." "Actually," Melody said, her voice taking on a steely quality I hadn't heard before, "right now you are acting exactly like a toddler having a tantrum because someone else is playing with a toy you want." Every being in the room froze. Drake's skin turned white with terror. Captain Talon's feathers flattened against her body. "I'm pretty sure I stopped breathing." Drakthor rose to his full height, towering over Melody. "You dare?" "Yes, I dare," Melody replied, not backing down an inch. "Because that's what good teachers do. They set boundaries, even when it's hard. They maintain order, even when faced with difficult behavior. And they never, ever give up on someone's potential to grow and learn." For a tense moment, I was certain Drakthor would strike her down. Instead, something unexpected flickered across his alien features. "No one has spoken to me that way since my molt mother," he said, voice uncharacteristically subdued. "Your molt mother sounds like a wise Vargax who understood the importance of boundaries," Melody said gently. "Would she be proud of how you are handling this situation?" The question seemed to pierce Drakthor's fearsome exterior. His compound eyes dimmed slightly, and his massive shoulders slumped. "No," he admitted. "She valued honor. Strength through wisdom, not just conquest." "It takes great strength to choose cooperation over conflict," Melody said. "Perhaps more strength than choosing war." 6 hours later, the impossible happened. The Treaty of Zoltan was signed, establishing the galaxy's first true cooperative mining venture between the Vargax and the Alliance. Drakthor himself proposed a cultural exchange program. As we prepared to return Melody to Earth, Supreme Commander Pelix approached her. "The Galactic Alliance would like to offer you a permanent position as Chief Diplomatic Specialist," he said. "Your methods are unconventional, but undeniably effective." Melody smiled. "That's very flattering, but I have got 28 kindergartners waiting for me. They are learning about the solar system next week, and I have already made the planet mobiles." "We could double whatever your current compensation is," Pelix pressed. "Respectfully, Commander, have you ever tried to find a substitute teacher in April? It's harder than negotiating peace with the Vargax." As we said our goodbyes, Captain Talon pulled me aside. "The Supreme Council wants a full report on human kindergarten teachers. They are considering recruiting more." I shuddered. "Do you realize what that would mean? An army of Melody Parks, unleashed on the galaxy's diplomatic corps?" "Indeed," Captain Talon nodded solemnly. "No conflict would stand a chance." "The universe isn't ready," I whispered. "It never is," she replied, "for truly revolutionary weapons." As I watched Melody Parks return to her classroom on our monitors, cheerfully greeted by tiny humans who had no idea their teacher had just prevented interstellar war, I realized the Galactic Diplomatic Corps had been right to reject me. I lacked something these kindergarten teachers possessed in abundance, the unshakable patience of someone who has explained for the 15th time why we don't eat glue, the tactical brilliance of someone who can manage bathroom breaks for 28 humans simultaneously, and the diplomatic instinct of someone who knows that sometimes all a warring galaxy needs is a timeout and a sticker chart. The Vargax Confederation, the most feared warriors in the known universe, had been defeated not by superior firepower or cunning battle strategies, but by a human with a behavior chart and a talking stick. And that, my friends, is why human kindergarten teachers are the universe's most feared negotiators.